That will just create confusion, and the federal government will not allow anybody to go anyway. That's why people like us have been advocating for restructuring.
The answer is not a straightforward one. It may be, it may not be. But before we can answer that question, we need to look and delve into the issue of secession in Nigeria. The first one in Nigeria, the first secession in Nigeria, a declaration for secession was made by Isaac Adakabu on February 23rd, 1966. He complained of marginalization of Niger Delta region people. He said the money being made from the oil will only be used by the federal government, and not the people of Niger Delta did not benefit from it. So he started a movement called Niger Delta Volunteer Force. And he made a declaration of taking Niger Delta out of Nigeria. But there was war. Nigeria waged war against him. And in 12 days, within 12 days, they subdued him. They captured him and he was sent to jail. He was released on the eve of the Biafran War. He later worked for Nigeria. He participated in the war on the side of the federal government, and he was killed in 1968. Now, after that one, there was Biafra. Again, in 1967, he declared secession. He complained of marginalization, not only marginalization, but pogrom, the killing of the Easterners in the north. They killed lots of the Igbo people in the north, both civilian and the military, to the extent that they will slice a pregnant woman, they will slice her tummy open, live, and kill the people. So Ojukwu had no alternative than to take east out of Nigeria. So in 1967, he declared secession, with Nigeria fought for 3 years. Eventually, Biafra collapsed and they surrendered to Nigeria. The next one was the Gideon Hawker in 1990, during Babangida regime. He made a declaration. He exercised 6 states out of Nigeria, the core north state, Borno, Katsina, Sokoto. He exercised them out of Nigeria. That's a form of secession, but it was crossed as well. So Nigeria survived. But the major problem that all of them were complaining was marginalization and victimization. So it was because of that. The latest one was this one, which I will not call a kind of secession, made by some few elements in Oyo State, that the Yoruba agitators. I can't say that's a secession, because how can they go to just an assembly, state assembly, take over? They don't know what they are doing. I don't know who misguided them. It was a female in the names of Onichiri Abiola, whatever, that misguided them into that. That for me is not a secession. But the core problem that Nigeria needs to address, if you want to stop the agitators, is marginalization. Now, when some ethnic group consider themselves being marginalized, being not taken care of by the federal government, then there will be a kind of agitation for self-determination. They want to protect their ethnic group. The problem we had during Buhari regime was a kind of a system that favored one ethnic group above the other. And now people are calling, we want to go our own way. But where there is equality, where equity prevails, no one will ask for self-determination. But where there is no equity, where there is no equality, where there is favoritism, where there is ethnicism, then people will continue to ask for self-independence. So that's why I suggested that it's not a straightforward answer. We need to come back to the drawing table and make sure that every Nigerian citizen are able to benefit and will be able to contest for election in any part of Nigeria. That's what we can call what we call equality and equity privilege. So now I cannot say whether it will go well for Nigeria or not go well, but Nigeria has to do something to cater for all the citizens, wherever you come from, be it in the east, be it in the north, be it in the south, be it southeast or southwest. Everybody should have equal rights, and then nobody will ask for self-determination. But as long as that continues, where there is no self-respect for some ethnic group, then people will ask for.
If we agree that splitting might not be the best for Nigeria at this point, then what could be done to ensure that this ship with all crew members stay together on the course of a lifetime of adventure?
What people are calling for restructuring, and I'm part of those who are calling for restructuring. The current system the unwholesome federalism that we are practicing in Nigeria should be totally abolished. As it is now, it's not working for us. Perhaps we should go restructure Nigeria in a way sufficiently that people of a region will control their resources. And then the central will not be so powerful as it is today. Like America, we can say they are practicing full federalism, real federalism. The state has power to generate a lot of things. The only thing that binds them together is defense and other things, security of the country. But in Nigeria now, the federal remain everything, and that won't work well. Look at when we initially gained independence, during the regional system of government, it worked well for Nigeria. Each region was able to develop on its own. Look at Western region. In fact, the Western region civil servants, they were earning more than even those who are working for the federal government at that time, because they manage their own resources through cocoa. They are dealing in cocoa, right? Other people, they are dealing in groundnuts, and the things they have their own that they are dealing with. So everybody from the money, there was certain amount of money that they will transfer to the central. But majority of their income is to develop their. That's why Western region developed more quickly than other regions. They are able to spend their money on education. They are able to introduce a lot of free education, free health system. Those were the things that made Western region. They knew how to manage their money. Unlike now, that the federal government will just give state money anyhow. Even look at the palliative now. They said we are giving state palliative. People are not benefiting from that palliative. So something has to be done. It shouldn't continue like this. Otherwise, perhaps people will say to your tent, O Israel, in terms of everybody should go on his way, might work eventually. But even if we go our way, the current leadership system, be it a Yoruba, be it a Fulani man, be it an Igbo man, if we have not changed our orientation, our mindset, we will still have the same problem. It's about the system, the way we practice our system. Change must be made if we want to make any progress in Nigeria. Whatever we are practicing, like Secretary said, this problem is not in our staff, but in we ourselves. The problem is in us. We need to address those problems. Whatever system we are practicing, it won't work if we are still doing the same thing that we are doing and we expect to change. It cannot work.
Decentralization of the government, so that the evolution of powers to the states, we give them some kind of autonomy, semi-autonomy. You remember, I mean, if you think about it, in a federation, where our structure is more like that of the United States. There are 52 states or so, we have 36. Each state in the United States has autonomy. They control their own resources. Where you produce bitumen, you use it to develop the area, and so on. It belongs to the state, the individual, and then the state will tax and give you conditions and guidelines how to use it. You have state police. In every state of the United States, you have state police, you have community police, you have neighborhood police, you have also about 3 layers. Federal government does not have business in any state police. You see, it's unfortunate. It is because of these things that I know that people are advocating for secession. All they're saying is, give us some type of autonomy. And in the First Republic, the regions were functioning. It is unfortunate. People forget that the regions, the 3 regions before Midwest came in 1964, were functioning. They were exporting their own products. Nobody was coming from Western region or Eastern region or Northern region to federal government for money. Nobody. They were all producing in the North, ice and skin, aluminium, iron, and so on. They were the groundnut pyramids. They were exporting and making money. Same thing in the East, same thing in the West. It is unfortunate that the coup of January 16, 1966 created havoc. I got to tell you now, you know, I tell my friends when they say, hey, Docs, how do you know all this? I say, listen, I have not stopped learning. I have not stopped investigating what happened, why, what's going on. Do you know what's going on in Nigeria? Why people are saying they want to secede? It's the same thing that the eastern region wanted to secede. When you don't feel safe, you don't feel recognized, you don't feel that you are getting anything from the federal government, you're not getting what you need. No, do you realize how undeveloped Nigeria is? Undeveloped Nigeria is since the 1950s. If you go to any state in Nigeria, you will see, it's as if you were going back in time to the 1950s, early 60s. There's no development. That's why people are rushing to Lagos. And what is Lagos? The most developed state in Nigeria is, by comparison to any other country, totally undeveloped. Lagos State. I'm sorry to say, but you have people like the vice president, they're driving from the airport to Ikoyi or wherever and say, Lagos is beautiful. He doesn't know. He's comparing us to his bush where it's coming from. Look, there are 5 divisions in Lagos. Tell me which one is developed. Is it Kurudu? Yeah? Is it Ekpe? Is it Agege? Is it Badagry? Oh yeah, come on. We have remained where we were. You see, what we are running in Nigeria is the government, the emergency government of the military. You remember? We have not got to a situation of democracy. Our constitution was written for us by military people, Abdul Salam and co. It was a crisis constitution to keep the nation one in times of trouble, in times of crisis. That's why you have the federal government so powerful, and it has remained so. We have not reversed. That's why everybody is now saying we must review the 1999 Constitution. That Constitution cannot work. That's a federal control Constitution. That's a military type command Constitution. You understand? If you keep on having that, people will never stop asking for secession. They want to secede. If you want to see an Igbo man and know him for what he is, go and see him when he's dealing with Igbo people. You know he loves his people. You cannot expect, you know, when I was in the US, we have Igbo people have party. It's Igbo party. They say Nigerian party. I say, okay, where are Yoruba people here? Where are Hausa people here? Where are Edo people here? No. There's nothing like Nigeria. Nothing like Nigeria. It's just a country. It's just a territory. It is not a nation yet, because we have been stuck with 1966 coup. The military has done what it can, which is to keep Nigeria one. You know who has given me the most insight into what must be done in terms of restructuring? Ibrahim Babangida. I was reading something recently. What he experienced is unbelievable. Tribalism. They forced him. He could remove what he wanted to do. He didn't want to annul the Abiola result. But the Northerners did not want him to do it because they said, we have to keep on to power. Why is the North insisting on keeping to power? You know why? They are afraid that Nigeria will not give them what they want. They will not give them anything. They have held on to power now all these years, since 1990. If you talk about the militaries were totally North, okay? And look at the level of development in the North. Zero. 2 million out-of-school children. Maybe 60% unemployment. Huh? No infrastructure, nothing. Just highway, build, roads that have been built by federal government, highways to nowhere. Therefore, until we discuss and deal with this issue, Tinubu has an idea that restructuring is essential. Devolution of power to the states. Only, I don't know if he has the courage to do it, or the energy. But this is what must be done. Everybody will continue to ask for secession. They want to secede. And what they're saying simply is, in the Niger Delta area, give us some space. Let us live according to our history, our culture. Let us use our resources to develop our area. In the East, that is the same thing that Kanu and IPOB are asking for. Let us use our resources, human resources, material, mineral resources, everything God has given us, let us use it to develop, just like you do in a federation. Without that, we are not going anywhere.
Even when things are going relatively well among all tribes of the nation, there suddenly comes a time when some forces cast spells of ill awareness that makes people come to see all the differences and urge to associate solely with their kind. The terrifying force called politics. During the 2023 general elections, the former secretary to the government of the Federation, Babachir Lawal, was quoted by local dailies saying the election divided Nigerians along ethnic and religious lines. According to him, in an interview with newsmen, the division became so deep to the extent that people were now on their own and suspicious of one another. How do we stop becoming victims of these?
You cannot stop human nature. A Yoruba man will tilt toward Yoruba land. An Igbo man will tilt toward Igbo land. You must take that into consideration when you structure your country. Imagine if in the United States, New Mexico, and 2 or 3 other states that are purely Hispanic, you want to control it from Washington. Therefore, in that state, even if a Hispanic becomes governor, he or she has to go to Washington to hand out and get money. They still are not independent. The mineral resources there, Hispanics are saying, we have all this, but you don't control it, federal government. It will know what they would have revolted in America. So, don't talk about greed. Look, I don't know where you have lived before, which other cultures you know. When I lived in the north, I got my first degree at Bayero University, which was Ahmadu Bello at the time. The northerners love themselves. And if you are with them, they love you equally. You get anything you want. I got everything I wanted from the north. They love me because I love them. But when they come to the south now, when you see them hostile, they're defensive. That is the nature of human beings. If the law in the United States did not protect black people, Native Americans, all of them would be suffering. But you got to give people their own independence. Nigerians are some of the best people I know in the world. They are so peaceful. I mean, the kind of thing we take now, look at labor, just going to media to make a little noise. They would have, in some places, they would have invaded Asu Rock and threw bomb inside there and assassinate the president. And so Nigeria is still peaceful. Don't blame our people. It's like saying now, this last 2023 election, you know, hey, it's your fault, you voted for Trump. No, we didn't vote for anybody. We don't know who won the election. INEC just made an announcement and gave it to some. You see what I'm saying? So don't blame the people for what they are not guilty. There is nobody in Nigeria that is worse than anybody else. Corruption. Where in the world is no corruption? Where in the world are there no bandits and terrorists? What happens in developed countries, in successful countries? The law is structured, developed in a way to take care. If you want a violent country, a corrupt country, and no one, is the United States of America. But guess what? The government will make sure that you don't get away with it. That's the role of government. In a country like Nigeria, where There's no police. Is there any police in your neighborhood? Have you ever seen a policeman walking your street? No. And yet we don't have street violence every day, people coming to steal in your house. You got to be lucky. Nigeria is blessed. But if you want to have security, where there is insecurity in Nigeria now, in the northeast, in the northwest, Boko Haram in the northeast, 15 years. Bandits in the northwest, 9 years. Inter-ethnic herder-farmer clashes in North Central for so long. The reason why you cannot stop all of this is because there is no internal security. The federal government is an alien security. You bring a policeman from Enugu, you take him to Bayelsa. They're going to put him in water there, he can't swim. He doesn't know the terrain. He doesn't speak the language. This is what was put in place to save Nigeria during the times of crisis, when we were falling apart, when Igbo people seceded. That one is over now. We have to have new laws. We have to have a new structure to take care of a democratic dispensation. We haven't done it. And the 1999 Constitution is the greatest obstacle. It has to go. Wole Soyinka is saying it. Onyoku is saying it. IBB is saying it. Gawani is saying it. Obasanjo is saying it. Everybody is saying it. We must change the situation. If 2027 now comes, 2027 comes now, we have the same INEC structure in place, where the president alone has chosen the chairman of INEC. And then we expect the results not to favor the president. Is that realistic? Imagine if you had a structure like INEC in the United States when Donald Trump was running for president and said he won. He would have just called the chairman and instructed him, look, my friend, I put you there, just declare. He tried. Did he not? Trump was calling people, tell them, declare for me. They refused because they were independent enough. He didn't appoint them. There's a different structure that put them there so they can talk. But where the president appointed them, isn't that why Wike is now trying to control Fubara?
When you see those at the top, they know how they come together. When they want to steal Nigerian money, the Yorubas, the Hausas, the Igbos, they come together, they distribute the wealth of the common people among themselves. And they don't criticize themselves. They don't label themselves as saboteurs. They don't label themselves as betrayers. They work in hand to jeopardize the interests of the common people. So the criticism of Yoruba is a betrayer, the Igbos are not there. It's only among the common people. And then once the country is good, when things are working well for us, people will forget all those things. It happens in the UK as well. The Scottish, they will criticize the English people. The English people will criticize the Scottish people. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. But in as much as it does not bring violence to the country, where there is competition, which is very good, healthy competition between the two, the major ethnic group, all the ethnic groups in Nigeria that want to do well for our state, that will bring progress to the nation. That's healthy competition between all the ethnic groups. There's nothing bad in that. If the West, if they introduce free education, let the East do the same thing. Let it not do the same thing. If the West bring electricity, let it not bring electricity as well. Let there be that competition. Oh, we don't want the Yorubas to be better than us. We don't want the Igbo to be better than us. And then the country will develop. I see that is what is very, very important. All those things people will criticize. Like when Chiwasanjo, he said it has Awolowo. When Awolowo was doing the Elere project, which is Gari production in mass, then I was not to ask him, don't you think people will think it's because of politics that you are doing this project? Then Awolowo replied, let every one of them go and do the same thing. Then there will be plenty of food in this country. So let there be healthy competition. Let it continue. But as long as it does not bring violence, then Nigeria will make progress.
Apart from political factors, there are also some prominent Nigerians who want to actualize a vision that might not necessarily be the view of the tribes they wish to represent. But in order to do so, some steps taken have severe injurious consequences. What is the right way to even secede, and what punishment should be given to those who incite?
Referendum. Nigeria should they should conduct referendum. The government should initiate it. Whether to be or not to be, the people should decide. When Nigeria was amalgamated in 1914, not many people were party to it. So it was at the convenience of the British government to govern Nigeria. It may not be the best interest of Nigeria. So Nigeria needs to do referendum to consider. The people have to decide whether they want to live together or not. So if that referendum is conducted, that we can do peacefully. Look at what happened in 2016 in Britain. The British consider whether they should remain in European Union or go or leave the European Union. Those who said leave, they were in majority than those who want to stay. And Nigeria, the British government, they left Europe and they're still doing well. So Nigeria can consider that. Where the unity is no longer working, where things are no longer working for Nigeria, war here and there, a lot of kidnappings, a lot of complaints, then we should consider referendum. Should we live together or not? After all, it's not by force to be in a union. When the union is not working, then everybody can go. So I would suggest Nigeria should conduct a referendum and see whether the people still want to continue living together or not. And that will put an end to agitation. Because once the election, free and fair referendum is conducted and the result is announced, then everyone will know we want to live together. 60% we should live together, then that will silence the agitators. But if the agitators now have majority, then Nigeria should separate peacefully without the necessity of going to war. War is the last resort and should not be considered. Considering what happened to us during the Biafra Nigeria war in 1967, where millions of people lost their lives, it shouldn't be something that should happen in Nigeria again. We should do referendum and decide what's happening. Where there is treason, that is anyone who levy war against the federal government or state government in the constitution is known as treason, right? So anyone who levies war or try to sabotage Nigeria's war is treason. However, we must be able to distinguish between constructive criticism and treason and waging war against Nigeria. When government is not doing well, people should be able to speak without fear and intimidation. But it has to be constructive criticism. But where there is sabotage underneath, where there is war, like what is going on in the East, like the kidnappings of people, those are against the government, those are treason, and they should be treated like common criminal if they are caught. Like those people who are caught in Oyo State recently, disturbing the peace of Oyo State, claiming to be Yoruba agitators, where they don't have consent of the Yoruba even to do what they did. And they are carrying guns. So they should be treated. They have committed treason. And they should be confined to prison. That is how it goes. Because we cannot continue to rub hands on people and giving them freedom to do what they like. Or when people committed something, they will say, okay, the government forgives them. They set them at liberty. Things like that should not. It's like it's a sign of an encouragement to continue to do evil. Whereby people is guilty of treason, deliberately sabotaging the efforts of the federal government, they should be confined to prison. That will serve as a deterrent to other people who have similar. But they should not misuse that power, right, to force the genuine people who are criticizing the government. They should not force them, like bringing the reform and things like that, whereby you silence the opponent. That's not what we are talking about. We are talking about those who sabotage the federal government, not the human rights people that fight for the rights of the people. That's what we are talking about. The way they treated Sarowiwa. Sarowiwa was an agitator, of course, but not a saboteur. And during the Abacha regime, they sentenced him to death. They killed him. So that's what we are talking about. He has not committed treason felony. But those people who are genuinely troubles, who are causing trouble in Nigeria, who are sabotaging the effort of the government, they have committed treason felony, and they should be treated as criminal. In my submission, patriotism is devotion to one country, working in the best interest of one country. It does not stop people from criticizing the government. It's a different entirely. No matter how patriotic we are, when the federal government fail to do what they should do, it is incumbent on us to criticize the government, to drive them home to what they should do. So, but patriotism is to act in the best interest of Nigeria, and people should do that wherever they are. They should see themselves as ambassador of Nigeria, whether they are in Europe, whether they are in South America or North America, wherever they are. They should show good example of Nigeria citizens. They should work for the best interest of Nigeria. Anything that can jeopardize the interest of Nigeria, if they know it, they should block it. All right, that is patriotism. Like the football players, we support Nigeria when they are playing football. That is patriotism. Whenever Nigerian people are, maybe they are in Olympic Games or everywhere, you will see how Nigeria, you discover that Nigeria are patriotic to the core. But because of what the government is doing, like you said, there is hardship in the country. People are finding it difficult. The fuel or the unprecedented fuel increment in Nigeria, the taxes, a lot of things are going on in Nigeria. So people cannot afford 3 square meals a day. And you are talking of patriotism. It's only a man that is turning his field that can think of all those things. A man who is hungry, who is maybe having 30,000 naira per month. How is he going to spend that with the situation in Nigeria now? We know how much a gallon of fuel is in Nigeria now. So when we are talking about patriotism, government, the charity begins at home. Let government do the need for the people as well. I can say that Nigeria, they are patriotic. I've seen them, how they defend the people everywhere they are. But Nigeria government is not doing enough for them to continue that even patriotism. When the people are suffering, how would they be patriotic for a country that punishes them? When people come to the UK or to go to America, they see the kind of life that they are living. Things are totally different. So why can't we do that in Nigeria as well? And then you will see that Nigeria are full of patriotism.
Some areas in Nigeria justifiably grown from marginalization, but arguments for this is democracy is a game of numbers. That sadly doesn't magically cure the feeling of neglect. What could be done to mend this?
There is the need for equal distribution of wealth in Nigeria. People should be considered for position of merit and not based on ethnic agenda, like the one we witnessed during Buhari regime. Once this is taken care of, every citizen, if you feel at home in anywhere, in any part of the country, then there will be no need. But it's difficult for some people now to work in the north. They won't give them employment in the north. And some people, they come to another state and they want to take position of that state. That's another problem. So as long as we can see this thing, what they cannot tolerate in their home place, they want to bring it to another place and take over from the people that belong to that ethnic group. All those confrontations will begin to ring bell that this situation must not continue unless we have equal distribution of wealth, equality of every citizen, and what you cannot take, don't give it out to others. So if it's what you can take, you give it out. Like Bible said, do unto others as you want people to do unto you. So if you continue to cheat other people and you are not giving anything out, people will say, okay, go back to your own state, go back to your region. You cannot tolerate that here. So that is the problem we are having. But if we can change, which that will go down to our mindset, the mindset of Nigeria. Do we see ourselves as Nigeria, or we see ourselves as the ethnic group that we belong? Do I see myself as Yoruba alone, or I see myself as Nigeria? If I see myself as Nigeria, then there's no problem. Things will be okay. So the mindset and government needs to do a lot of campaign, a lot of reorientation that we should see ourselves as one. But government will start that as well. When you look at the position being given to people where there's equal division of position, you know there's no ethnicism. But where you see that 70% of the position from the federal government is being given to one ethnic group above the other, then that trend of tribalism, ethnicism will continue. But government can set the ball rolling and this will change for Nigeria.
Nobody can love Nigeria because there's nothing like Nigeria. This is why we say, instead of separation, secession, let us have devolution of powers. Are you kidding me? Who loves America? Nobody in America. You love what you have. How do you expect an Igbo man to say, I love Yoruba people? What are you talking about? There's nothing wrong with tribalism. In the history of mankind, have you ever seen a situation where everybody is happy with everybody? No, you go with your own. What we need to do is to realize that and take it as a fact. Imagine if you have one religion in Nigeria, say everybody must be Christian. Is it possible? People will secede from that your religion. That's what we're doing now. And that is why we're not saying, look, if you don't want people to secede and create confusion the way they did in the Civil War, if you don't want Yoruba nation, if you don't want IPOB, Igbo nation, if you don't want Middle Belt nation, if you don't want all these groups to start talking about seceding, breaking up the whole damn country, then you must devolve power to the federating units, the states. They must have fiscal power. They must have political independence. Otherwise, the nation will break up. If you did not give people in different states in the United States the authority to basically govern themselves, federal government has a role, but it's not the kind of role the federal government plays in Nigeria where it controls everything. And that's why it's so dysfunctional, it cannot do it. It doesn't work like that. Imagine you say you are president of Nigeria. Can you go to Kontagora and say you can't even speak the language? You are not safe when you go there. You know? You don't even know the terrain. You have no idea. You must depend on the governor and the administration of that place. And they must be happy with you. In other words, if you don't give people freedom, if you don't give them the opportunity to develop themselves, and you don't give them the opportunity to use what God has given them to develop themselves, you are making enemies. No Nigerian president can be loved by anybody except his own tribe. No matter what he or she does for the tribe, even when they're not helping the tribe, they say, he's a dog, but he's our own dog. So we manage him. That is human nature. We must take that into consideration. You see, we have a lot of work to do, but if you have the will, if you have a president today who has the will to change this nation, to create real federalism, to be sure, to be courageous enough and patriotic enough to know that holding on to power at the federal level is not going to help. Say, I will devolve power. When you devolve power, can you look, let me say this, one point. Let me just say this. Can you imagine you are making 1 trillion from oil coming from Niger Delta? Imagine if you are making money from, you are making 500 billion from lithium, half from bauxite, 1/4 from bitumen, and so on and so forth. And what will the national coffers will be more? Not what it is now. That is the argument for decentralization.
Let us work in love. Let us work together as a country. Let us build a prosperous nation. Let there be peace in this country, and then Nigeria will be competing with the best in the world. Nigeria is going to be a great country by the special grace of God if we all work together as a team.
Theorists have postulated that humans were never wired to be satisfied. It is no surprise that children raised in a loving family would experience different levels of satisfaction. Such it is with Nigeria. The differences that divide us is not a tribe thing. Rather, it is a human thing, which every human on earth has potential of developing. Separation won't stop greed, corruption, irresponsibility and negligence. Perhaps it's time to look within ourselves and root out all wrong course and doings, rather than perpetually looking for faults in our neighbors, which might just be a reflection of ourselves. Let's have a rethink. This is where we'll be drawing the curtains close on today's episode of Firecrackers. Thank you so much for staying with us to the end. My name is Iribami Salako. See you next week and have a wonderful week.